Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So I wanted to bring up something that I've talked about before, which is the Biden administration policy regarding Venezuela. Why am I bringing this up again? Well, first of all, the Biden administration is bringing it up again and intensifying it. And number two, Code Pink is hosting a group conference on this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is to contact, government officials within the administration to tell them to lift the sanctions on Venezuela. So let me go to this, which is why I say, the Biden administration is, continuing this. Before I even go any further, let me point out very clearly that the Biden administration policy on Venezuela is exactly the same as the Trump administration policy on Venezuela. So you've got Trump policies just without the Trump name. So you do not get to claim that you are in favor of diplomatic relations with foreign countries, and you do not get to claim that you are in favor of human rights if you are supporting this. And if you are silent on this, silence is complicity. I'm going to keep saying that. Silence is complicity. You are just as guilty by being silent as the people who formulate and implement such policies. So let me go to this. March 8th, yesterday, background call by senior administration officials on Venezuela. And look at this. It doesn't even give you the names of the people that are involved here. Senior administration official. It just keeps on going all the way down. My name is senior administration official. It's like, really? Is that your name? All right, so we're going to go right down to it. First of all, as a candidate, the president, Biden, was the first Democratic candidate to actually recognize Juan Guaido as the legitimate leader of Venezuela, and has been very clear that Nicolas Maduro is a dictator and that the 2018 elections were fraudulent and illegitimate. Let's go to I'll do that later. All right, number two, he is committed to a robust multilateralism, meaning that we're going to, as an administration, be working to increase the international consensus in favor of free and fair elections in Venezuela, and that we're working with the international community to increase pressure in a coordinated fashion, making it clear that the only outcome of this crisis is a negotiation that leads to a democratic solution. What they mean is that the only outcome means for Maduro to step down. If the Venezuelan people voted him back into office, the sanctions would continue. Look at this. They want to ensure that the United States is the first country in line to help rebuild. Oh, how generous. And the first in line for that would be ExxonMobil. All right, due to pandemic and travel admission, this is separate. Due to the pandemic and travel admission restrictions at the border, those will remain in place. So on immigration, the same policies as the Trump administration. Let's keep going. So, look, just to be clear that the negotiation is one that is not between the United States and the regime. It is between the illegitimate regime and the interim government of Venezuela. Now's the time. EU states no longer recognize Juan Guaido as Venezuela's interim president. Dated January 25th, 2021. Yes, the EU does not recognize Juan Guaido as the interim president of Venezuela. This is Reuters. So don't attack the source. It's one of the sources that if you support Biden and you're all for the establishment, this is the source you would go to. All right. Down here, once that happens, we will, consult with the international community and make decisions about whether sanctions would be lifted. Again, that is something we would be in close touch with the interim government. But we need to recognize here that the unilateral sanctions over the last 4 years, actually, it has not been the last 4 years, it has been the last 6 years, because it was at least 2015 or earlier that Obama implemented sanctions against Venezuela. Have not succeeded in achieving an electoral outcome in the country. They had an election. It was monitored by representatives from 40 different countries that all declared the election legitimate. So, when they say electing an electoral outcome, they mean that the U.S. government didn't get the result that they want, which is what capitalists, especially oil companies, want. And so really what we're focused on is making sure that we're working very closely and coordinating very closely with the European Union. Really? They are. Really? Because the European Union doesn't see it that way. Again, unilateral sanctions. That means imposed by the United States only. We could keep on with unilateral sanctions and stay in this situation for who knows how long. That said, we're going to review the sanctions to make sure they are effective, because the focus of sanctions should be to increase pressure on the regime, eliminate any sort of access to corrupt capital to sustain themselves, but also not one that penalizes and punishes unnecessarily the Venezuelan people and the country. Let's see what the UN has to say about that. UN News. And the UN says, lift sanctions bringing suffering and death, urge UN rights experts. Sanctions that were imposed in the name of delivering human rights are in fact killing people and depriving them of fundamental rights, including the right to health, to food, and to life itself. Water, soap, and electricity needed by hospitals, fuel for delivering vital goods, and food are all in short supply because of the sanctions. Sanctions are bringing suffering and death in countries like Cuba, Iran, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen, said the special rapporteur on the negative impact of unilateral coercive measures on the enjoyment of human rights, one of the experts highlighting the issue. We renew our call for sanctioning countries to urgently lift, suspend, or minimize their sanctions so that medicine, medical equipment, food and fuel can get through. So, this is why I'm focusing on this. This is why you should be focusing on this. If you care about human rights, you care about human rights wherever those humans are. You don't care about capitalism. Throw it out the window. You'll notice that almost every country under these crushing sanctions has got a primarily socialist economy. Yeah, we're not imposing these murderous sanctions on Israel, who is conducting genocide against the Palestinians, stealing their home, depriving them of food, depriving them of clean water. In fact, we give them billions of dollars a year. We are not imposing these crushing sanctions on Saudi Arabia, conducting genocide in Yemen, notorious for their human rights abuses. Women's rights. Women just now got the right to drive in Saudi Arabia without a man in the vehicle, and even then, that is only under certain conditions. They publicly, in Saudi Arabia, behead people, line people up, and behead them, and that includes political dissidents. Khashoggi was only an example. And yet, look at what Biden has to say about that. He wants to continue our special relationship with Saudi Arabia. Really? So, these are all the same policies that we had under Trump. There is no change at all. No change. On the campaign trail, Biden said that Saudi Arabia was a pariah. Now he's in office, and look how it changes. So, I'll say it again. Either you are against this, which means you are publicly, openly, vocally against this, protesting this, opposing it. If you are not fighting against this, if you are silent about this, you are complicit. You are just as bad as the people that are imposing the sanctions, that are murdering other human beings. So what's it going to be? Are you in favor of human rights, or do you just want to get on your knees and pray to, your God? I was opposing all of this while Trump was in office. So it's no change for me. Because I am focused on the issue, on human rights across the board, across the globe. I don't care what the administration may be. You don't get to make excuses on human rights. No excuses. If you are making excuses, you're no different than a Nazi sympathizer, really. Join in on the Code Pink call tonight. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.